Hi, this is John DeVries with New Horizons Learning Group. And today I want to talk to you about what is Kubernetes. So the word means pilot, as in the pilot of a boat in Greek, which tells you absolutely nothing, right? Well, I could tell you that Kubernetes is orchestration for large deployments of containerized microservices web applications. Probably still haven't told you a whole lot. So let's talk about what the basic concepts are here. So, first of all, containerization. Containerization is simply the new form of virtualization. I think most of you are probably familiar with virtual machines. Technology has been around for 20 years or so. And what a virtual machine is, it's a package that includes one or more applications and also any dependencies, any other programs that those applications need to run, and an operating system. Each package, each virtual machine must have its own operating system. We call it the guest operating system. And that all runs on top of a layer, we call it a hypervisor, that shares the hardware resources of the actual physical computer it's all running on. Well, what happened was people said, well, why do we need all of those guest operating systems? Because often the same exact operating system from one virtual machine to another. So what they did was produce a new package. They called it a container. It's still one or more applications and any dependencies, but they moved the operating system out to be a shared resource. So now it's down with the hardware resources as a shared resource. And they renamed the runtime layer. Instead of a hypervisor, we now have a container engine. And Docker became very quickly the dominant, to the point of monopoly, container technology. Both the container format and the runtime engine are all Docker compatible these days. So that's where we start. Now, containers, they're much smaller because they don't contain an operating system. They're much smaller than a virtual machine. And that gives us some opportunities. And in particular, it worked very well with something else that was happening in parallel in the programming community, specifically the development of what's known as microservices architecture. Microservices allows a program to be broken up into a swarm of cooperating pieces rather than one big chunk of code. We refer to the old architecture, one big chunk, now as monolithic programs. And these newer microservices architecture programs have been a very popular way of doing very, very large web applications, particularly ones that are going to be deployed into a cloud service. And so the small, lightweight nature of containers just was a really good fit for these microservices architecture programs. But there's a problem. There are going to be too many of these things to be able to manage them hands-on. We were actually already seeing that problem with large virtual machine installations. So we need automated tools to manage creating containers, making sure they get to the right place, because not all parts of a microservices application will need the same hardware resources. And it's just too much work to manually say, okay, this container has to go to that hardware and this other one goes to it, and it doesn't work that way. Google estimates that worldwide they deploy about 2 billion containers every day. So you can see why it isn't practical to manage this stuff hands-on. You need automation to do it for you. And that's what Kubernetes is. We call the automation an orchestrator. It's a tool that orchestrates, manages the deployment and operation of these containerized apps. And Kubernetes has quickly grown, although it's not so completely dominant as Docker is for containers. It's become the most popular orchestration tool for containerized deployments. And one rather significant endorsement, even Microsoft is starting to deploy new services on top of Kubernetes. So that's what Kubernetes is. It's orchestration management software for containerized, primarily microservices applications. It's, by the way, not the easiest thing in the world to master. Kubernetes is a great tool. It makes an almost impossible task manageable. Doesn't say it makes it easy, and it isn't. It's a complex tool because it does a very complex job. But once you master it, it makes that job manageable, and it's currently the dominant orchestration tool going around in the IT community. At any rate, that's what Kubernetes is, and we'll see you again for another video next time.